Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of the day you're listening to this. Welcome to another recording of Invincible You. Today I had the lovely Harry Horrigan recording with me. We looked at confidence, manifestation, thoughts and how our thoughts are really us, and one of my favourite phrases, test it. We also dipped into gratitude and looked at what gratitude is and how gratitude is really good for us. Harry is a DJ in his own right and very, very passionate about music. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this recording. So welcome, Harry Horrigan, to the recording. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's a pleasure already, and we haven't even done the interview yet, so thank you.
No, thank you for your time. Where did I find you? I think the link was through Dan.
Yes.
I found you through Dan, and then I started to follow you and started to look into some of your work, and you just became really curious to me straight away. And obviously, you have a massive passion for mental health, so I thought you'd be a really great guest. So let's see.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah.
Just introduce yourself to the listener. What do they need to know about you?
So just give you a brief rundown, I suppose. I just graduated last year, so I'm kind of in that limbo, shall we say, between like a job or, in between graduating, I suppose, and getting like a full-time job / career kind of thing. But through university, I've kind of like went into like different avenues, I suppose. Like I was doing events management, as my job in part-time university, and then I started a YouTube channel up, and then through that I did student radio, which kind of led me to a few other things, and then I started my own podcast, and then I've really kind of got into motivating and want to like inspire people and inspire other people. So that's kind of what the route I'm going down now, and that's what my podcast is, and then that's what I kind of want to do with my radio show and hope to do as I go like further into my career, I suppose.
Perfect. And we will share links to all of that stuff when we kind of broadcast this.
Oh, amazing.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
So one of the things that really fascinated me about you was that you are 23 and you have a really keen interest in mental health, which is not so unusual, but it's some of your beliefs. Let me start simply with, where does that passion firstly for mental health come from at such a young age?
I think it's because I think it's all from my parents, to be honest. Like when me and my sister have been when we were younger, and they've always taught us like to, never believe anything. If someone says that you can't do something, make that your, what's a good word to say? Make that your like thing to be like, right, I'm going to prove you wrong kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's all started from there since we were at a young age, and they've always been very supportive of any like kind of avenue that we want to explore or do, or anywhere we want to go. They've always done the best to kind of like help us along or whatever. So I think it started from there really. And then just through school, I think everyone kind of loses a bit of confidence, loses who they are kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I think sixth form, I gained a little bit more confidence, and then moving to university, because I moved from like quite a small town in northeast England to London, like where I was kind of put in the deep end. I think I got a big culture shock into just living in a city with all these, like crazy characters. And I was living in halls as well. So I was living with, I think, 10 different people and sharing like a kitchen. And it's a big culture shock, I suppose. Yeah. So I think that when I moved there and then I went traveling, did like a whole thing like that. And I think that built so much confidence up in me. And I was just like, you know what? Like, this is who I am. I'm going to do what I want to do and no one's going to stop me. And then, I don't know, I guess I've just kind of like inspired, like looked up to people, like looked up to my idols and thought, why do they inspire me? And then maybe just try to be a bit more like them. I don't know if that's answered your question very well, but
no, it has. It really has. And it's led me on to another one. And so who would be your idols? Who would be the people that you would look up to and think, I want to be like them, I want to follow them?
Let me see. So it depends like on what kind of industry, but I guess like growing up, my idols were like, I've always had a big love for like Oprah. She's been like, I don't know, I just love, I guess it's all to do with like, I know we were speaking just before this, but and you'll probably introduce it a little bit more in a minute, but she's like heavily believes and practices the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And that's kind of since like a young age, I knew that she did that. So I've kind of like followed her for like a long time and really looked up to her and like everything she's done with her, TV shows. And, she's a Black woman. And back in her day when she started out out wanted to be a TV host. She was kind of, making the waves with what she did. And I suppose a bit more of like who I want to be like would be like your Nick Grimshaw, Greg James, Mr.
Right.
Jam, like these people that are on like, your mainstream radio stations. And then I've really looked up to them kind of people because I've got like a big passion of music. I mean, that's what I studied at university. So I kind of like really looked up to them people. And yeah, I think that's it on that front that I can think of off the top of my head.
So
just anyone that works hard, like, sorry.
No one.
Anyone that works hard, like anyone that I kind of come across like on my path, I guess I'm like, you know what, you're a grafter. Like you, like the people who are not don't talk the talk, people who actually say something and kind of put one foot in front of the other and like, you know what, I'm going to do this. Like, it's not impossible to do anything. And that's kind of who I look up to, really.
It's very true that we are absolutely capable of doing anything we want in life. We just have to have that belief and that knowing. There can be many 100 different reasons as to why for a lot of people that can't happen, but it feels like for you, you've got some really, really positive foundations. Do you know what I mean? In terms of your younger years and from your parents, it just feels like you were almost like supercharged by those two, and all of a sudden here you are at 23 with all of this passion and drive and self-belief as well, which is just incredible. So big up your parents, I'll say.
I'll pass that on to them. But I think it's actually I thought about this, I suppose, I guess the last years gave us a lot of time to reflect about things. And we've been lucky enough, like me and my sister have been lucky enough to be with parents where we've traveled quite a lot when we were younger. Like my mum and dad were always them people who were like, we don't care about savings and we don't care about, saving money for a rainy day because they love to travel and they always have done. And then I guess we've been lucky enough to go along with them sometimes. And I think it's just seeing different cultures and seeing different situations and destinations that really kind of it motivates me anyway, because I love traveling. I love seeing the different parts of the world and things. But I think that has definitely got a big part to play in it as well.
Yeah. Well, if you think about that from a young age, you're exposed to all of these different things and all of these different experiences and sights and smells and sounds and foreign languages and foreign ways of doing things. And if you don't experience that until you're, I don't know, maybe 18 or 20, then it's going to be a real shock for you. But it feels like from a very young age, you were just exposed constantly to all of that stuff. And so it becomes a part of your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also, what I was thinking of as before is my family are a very social family. We've always had a lot of gatherings and parties, being quite a family, we'd always celebrate together. And I think that there's always family friends there. And in the sense that I think I've done quite well in uni, networking with people. I think I've got that from these family parties and family gatherings that we've always had since we've been little.
That's amazing. I love that. You really have been given quite a solid kind of base to in which to grow, which I just absolutely love. So just really quickly, university, you want to be a DJ, you want to kind of stay in entertainment, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I did music business and live entertainment. That's the full name of the course. But I kind of went in not entirely sure, I suppose, what I wanted to do. And then gradually through uni, I think when I built up my confidence, I realized, hang on, I can do this. I've just got to believe in myself a bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the long-term presenter kind of goal. Yeah.
Yeah. I have this thing. So a quick story around where these podcasts started from with the first radio station that I started with. I knew two of the presenters and I said, would you like to do something around mental health? Because of my background being a psychotherapist. And they were like, oh yeah, we'd love to do that. So I went into the studio and they started to show me around the studio. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But obviously you'll be pressing the knobs and doing the switches and stuff like that. And they were like, no, we wanted you to record it. And I went, what do you mean? They were like, we wanted you to record it, get your own guests. And I was like, within almost a heartbeat, I just went, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. And I walked away and went, what have you just said? What have you just said? I have this thing now where I say yes and then think about it later.
Exactly. And I think some of the best things are when you've been thrown in at the deep end, when you haven't got that much time to kind of think about it and just right, I've got to do this. I've got to come up with the goods kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about something off air. As I kind of stalked you a little bit earlier, I was trying to get a sense of who you were and what you believed in and different things. And there was one word that just kept coming through, and it was manifestation. Tell me, or tell the listener, I know what manifestation means, but tell the listener for you what manifestation means, your understanding.
I mean, I don't think I've got like a perfect definition, but I suppose to me, it means like when you want something and you kind of work so hard, but it's important that you've got to be inspired by the thing, because I guess if you just in love with like the idea of the end result and you don't actually want to do the work, it
Yeah.
won't work. But in terms of like when you set a goal or an ambition, whatever it is, or a dream, you set it and you kind of start moving towards it, and you're so like inspired and like have so much passion, but you're also kind of having gratitude for where you are now, and kind of like you're helping people up on the way, you're being just a good person. And then kind of it comes in fruition just because you're being the best version of yourself basically, and then you're gonna get to the end result.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
Just so as I said that, then you're like, oh, I'm not sure I've got the perfect definition. Your definition of manifestation is perfect for you. That's your definition. So there's no such thing as you. Actually. Yeah, there's no such thing as you not having a perfect definition, because it's yours, and yours is perfect because it is. So let me try and describe it. So when we manifest, it is about. And the reason I want to talk about this is people get very, very confused over manifestation, because they think, so they if I say, right, I'm going to think about having a Lamborghini set outside the house, I've just got to think about having a Lamborghini and it'll just appear outside the house. It's not quite as simple as that. Yeah. And that's why people kind of, they poo-poo it a little bit and go, oh, don't be so ridiculous.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to sit here now and think, oh, £1,000, and it's just not going to appear in my hand. It's not quite as basic as that, is it?
No, but I do think that if you focused on a Lamborghini for the rest of the day today, I could guarantee you would see one in the next few days, or see like an advert would keep coming to your attention. Because if you just think about, as if I can't even think of an example right now, but just for an example, like, if you think on a morning before you go to work, if you're thinking, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late, you can guarantee you're going to be late. Or if you say in your head, I'm going to do something wrong today, or like I used to work in hospitality, and in one of the restaurants that I used to work in, I remember thinking, there was like a big order in it. I think it was for like quite, an important client or something. And I was thinking, don't get this order wrong. Don't get this order wrong. And then I got the order wrong. So it's just, I think a little bit like that. Like if you think something over and over again, like it kind of like you're like preempting it, I suppose, a bit.
Yeah. You're almost like taking yourself down that path. It's interesting, because I think I said Lamborghini because I saw one earlier. Did I see a Lamborghini or an Aston Martin? I can't remember. I think I might have seen two Aston Martins today, interestingly, just in my rearview mirror. But what we're kind of tapping into here, have you ever read the book The Secret?
Yeah. That's the first book I think I ever read on like this whole manifestation thing.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on the book The Secret? Let's go there.
I know it's quite like controversial, and I've seen a lot, especially in the last year, because I think with like TikTok and everything, it's kind of blew up a little bit more, and I've like seen people like really diss it, but it really did. It changed my life. I know I hate saying this phrase because I feel like, oh, it changed my life, but it honestly did. And I think that when you read it, I think there's like a little bit in it that says it will always be brought to you when you like kind of need it. And it happened in like the weirdest way. So I went to like theatre school as well as secondary school at the same time. And they're like the people who ran it were like really into The Secret, but I was literally must have been like 11 when I went there, so I was pretty young, so I probably didn't really understand it as such. And but I kind of knew what it was, and like knew, if you work hard, all that kind of thing. Like I knew the basics. And then I think my mum was like having a bit of a rubbish time or something, and one of her friends sent her The Secret as a gift to be like, look, read this, it'll really help you. And then I remember I opened the package and I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is the book that I've heard about so much. I was like, I must read it. And then I remember reading it and I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is kind of what I'd already, I suppose, think like I've already kind of done in my life without even thinking it was like a thing. But I think it really did change my life. And there was so much, I think, so I must have been about, hang on. Yeah, I must have been about 12 when I read The Secret. So it's pretty
Wow.
young, like to kind of understand and get like a grasp on it. But ever since like I was maybe like 12 or 13, like there was so much in my life, even to this day, that I'm still like, that happened because I read The Secret and because I knew, I suppose, The Secret kind of thing.
Yeah. Just to, I was reading a feed on Facebook the other day. I think it was in a counselling forum that I was in, and this somebody said, "What's your thoughts on The Secret?" Basically, and this whole like 150 comments kind of poured out of, it's a pile of rubbish, or it's this, or it's that, and there was this real divide. And for me, I mean, the Secret's on my bookshelf along with her other books. I think it's a female author, and it is true, but I think the way The Secret presents itself is a little bit, it can be a little bit woo woo, and I use that word not in a detrimental way because I use it on myself as well, because I can be a little bit woo woo at times, in a good way. I like my woo woo ness. It's a good thing. But basically, the principle of manifestation and The Secret is that if we are thinking things in our minds, we are creating neurocircuitry that will take us to that place. So, for example, I always remember somebody saying this to me: if you have £20 in your bank, and then you have earnings coming this way, and you look at your bank and go, "Oh my God, I've only got £20. I've only got £20. Like that's all I've got." Then that will become your focus and it'll become a real problem for you. Whereas if you turn, so that's like energy. It's like energy leaving you right there towards that £20. Yeah. That's all you've got left, and you've got £100 bill coming out. Whereas if you turn this way, you've got money coming in. And if you focus that way, pour your energy into that, then you can't manifest money, but you like pour energy into it. So therefore the money creates itself. So for me, it's like an energy source. Am I really going to focus on the 20 quid? The only 20 quid that I've got in my bank? Or am I going to go the other way and go, I've got a potential to earn money here, but I need to drive energy that way? Does that make sense?
Exactly. I think it's all just about, exactly. It's all just about the mindset change. But there's been like quite a lot of people in my life, or like, you know, like friends or family or whatever, that like, it's a load of BS. It's like, you know, like, how can you believe in that? But what I always come back to when I think, because I have thought it over the years, you know, is it really real? Does it work? But then I think you've just got to look at people like success stories, you know, like your Oprah Winfrey's, your Jim Carrey's, your Conor McGregor, Big Sean, like these big people, like most, you know, the most successful people in the world, and they all have one thing in common, and it's that they believe that.
Yeah. Well, they are definitely using their thought processes in a very positive way. So it's like somebody offering me a podcast gig, and then me going, yeah, I can do that, and then going, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? And then going very quickly and going, I can do that. It'll be absolutely fine because I'll learn quite quickly. I can talk. As I'm working with people in here, I ask a lot of questions. I'm very curious. Do you know what I mean? So they're all skills that you just take into podcast recording, but you have to believe. Whereas if I had have gone into this and gone, oh, I'm going to be really rubbish and I won't want to say and yada yada yada, then I just would have been absolutely rubbish. But then what happens is, then we walk away and go, knew it. I knew that had happened. I said I was going to be rubbish, and I've been rubbish. And I'm like, no, you said, so therefore you became. Is the way I look at it. It's not about you were, but you kept saying it and thinking it, so therefore that's what you became.
Yeah, it's that imposter syndrome as well, isn't it? Like that, what is it, you know, like is it on like TV or like cartoons, and like when there's like an angel on one shoulder and a devil on another, like whispering you in one ear, you know, you're good enough, and then there's the devil, like the imposter syndrome, being like, no, you're not good enough, you can't do it. But I think you're always going to have that. You've just got to, you know, have a good balance or a strong mind just to be like, no, I can do it, kind of thing. But
I think imposter syndrome for me comes from the need on occasion to doubt ourselves, but in a very healthy way, if you know what I mean. So it's like, I don't know, it's like me saying now, I've just been invited by BBC One to go and do a live program tomorrow night with no training, with no experience, no nothing whatsoever, and me kind of going, oh, that's a big gig that one is. Having said that, I probably would say yes and just do it. Just just kind of get away with it.
Yeah, I
Just
mean, throwing you in at the deep end, why not? It'll work out.
on the one show. Yeah, I can do that. Eek. But you
Live TV, I mean, what could go wrong?
yeah, live TV. Thoughts are definitely us. Do you know what I mean? We definitely become what we are thinking constantly. Is there anything? So you have a very, very positive mindset. Is there anything? And this question came from, I have one thing that I kind of constantly say I'm not very good at, and I'm not very good at it because that's what I say. For you, is there anything that you kind of go, yeah, I'm not good at that part? It could be anything. It could be a skill. It could be a capability. Anything at all.
Something that I like really battle with like on a daily basis is working out, and like burpees, like anything to do with abs. I'm like, because I do a lot of like YouTube workouts. I don't go to the gym. I just do it all like online, and I have done for like a long time. But when I'm like doing, like anything like that is really, really strenuous. I'm like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. But then I've just got to kind of get myself back up and just be like, yes, you can get the body, you can do it kind of thing. But that's probably one of my main things. Cause sometimes if I'm in, like a bit of a funny mood or on a down day, I'll just like stop the workout. Cause I'm like, I can't do it. Where, I know I can sometimes or like on the regular I can, but then it's just that voice being like, don't do the workout. It's not worth it. That kind of thing. But that's probably the main one, I think, like just to do with working out and like healthy living, really.
Did you have any, in terms of that one there, did you have any kind of adverse experience in maybe PE or doing rounders when you were little or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think I was always like quite active through school and everything. I think it's just that yeah, I don't know the answer to that one, actually. Maybe I'll have to think about that one.
It feels like it's that somewhere along the line you've had an adverse experience to exercise. Do you know what I mean? At school, I hated PE. God, I hated it with a passion. Absolutely hated it. But I hated football and rugby and all of those kind of things they did with us because it was too team sporty, and I don't do team sport.
Yeah. Running was my thing, to be honest, when I was growing up. Like it still is now. I still go for a run like a few times a week.
Yeah.
So I guess that was my main one. So I think I've always maybe struggled with like like your ab and core and hip workouts. That's just something that I've always kind of struggled with a bit, I think.
Yeah. For me, it just feels like you haven't yet found your flow in terms of that type of exercise. When you'll hit a person, not physically, but you'll come across a person and they'll deliver something. You'll go, oh, here we go. This is nice. I like this. And I cannot bear burpees. It's like one of the worst exercises ever in the world.
Anything that you have to like get on the floor for, like, I think the only thing I actually feel good when I'm doing is like the plank or up and down plank. But press ups, anything like that, burpees, it's just it's difficult for me.
It's too much, but see what you do with yourself there when you go into it. You're kind of like, can't do it, don't like it, can't do it, and therefore you don't like it.
Exactly. It's like a dark spot in your mind, isn't it? I suppose, like when you always try to do it and come back to it and you're always like, no, this is the thing that I like dislike, or it's like negative in my head kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's too bad that you have that one thing in comparison with everything you have going on that's very positive. And
oh yeah, I mean, there's probably more, but I think that's probably the one that I like fight with on the daily.
Yeah. So when I was stalking you earlier, I came across a YouTube video that was about confidence.
Okay.
I didn't watch it all. Full candor, I did not watch it all. I watched about 5 minutes of it. Okay. Tell me about that. Why? What made you want to deliver a video on confidence?
I think that was all to do with myself gaining confidence, because I've always said, I think it was like maybe when I think it was when like pretty much I read The Secret, and I think there's a bit in The Secret, or there's a bit in some like self-improvement book that I've read that it says, be the person that you needed when you were younger. And I think that I would want someone to tell me this about confidence when I was younger, because I think when I was like going through secondary school and I didn't really have, like excelling confidence, shall we say, I wish like I had been told that, or I've like watched a video like that. And it wasn't until, so I took a gap year in between second and third year. it was going to be a placement year, but it didn't work out. So it just ended up being like a gap year, and I just traveled. And I gained so much confidence on that year. Like I started my own YouTube channel. So I started like, talking in front of a camera. And especially in public, that takes like a lot of guts. I mean, it probably seems so like silly to people that takes a lot of guts, but it does. And especially when people are looking at you being like, what the hell are you talking to or whatever. But I just gained so much confidence, like even just solo traveling like around the world, like making friends and stuff. Like I went to Bali and did like a tour. So it's like it was like a 2 or 3 week tour, and you didn't know anyone. You just kind of like paid your ticket, and then this like agent sorted everything out, and then you did it with a group of people. So even that in itself was like so intimidating, like built my confidence so much. So by the time that year passed and then I went back to finish my 3rd year at university, I started doing student radio, which is kind of what I wanted to do all along, but I just didn't felt like I had the confidence to do it. And then going back to the thing about be the person that you needed when you were younger, is just that I wish I had the confidence earlier, because I felt like I would have grown so much earlier. But yeah, that was basically the message of that, and just be like confident in yourself to do, everything that you want to do, trial and error. And because I think that's a really like big part of like growing up and things, because I even still think I want to like trial and error certain things. And especially thinking like the last 2 or 3 years, I've like trialed and so much things that I wanted to do or thought I would like to do, and found out that I haven't liked or whatever, that I think that's really important. But then again, that's all about having confidence to try it and fail at it, and fail big sometimes. I mean, I've definitely failed a lot at doing certain things, but yeah, I guess that is the main kind of focus of the video. Just I wanted to be the person that I needed when I was younger.
Yeah, I absolutely love that phrase, be the person you needed when you were younger. So for you, the person you needed was a more confident version. What came into my head then, there was something around language. You kept saying, try it, try it, try it. I love the phrase, test it, because when we test something, there's no pressure because it's just a test.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's less pressure when we say test it than we say try it. What would you say to somebody now that you thought that they were really struggling with their self-belief, self-confidence?
I think I would say just kind of follow your excitement. Like if you're excited about something, or like whether that be a job, an interest, just follow it, because you never know if you're going to like really enjoy it when you're doing it, or if you're not. And if you're not, then that's fine, because as long as you've tried it. Because there's this actually, and let me tell you this, because there's this phrase, or is it a phrase or like a little quote that I always remember from, the actor Denzel Washington, or is it Denzel? I don't know how you pronounce it. But he's very like into manifesting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he says, he was speaking at like an American graduation, because they pay a lot of money for guests and stuff. So they got him somehow. They probably paid him about $1 million to be there. But and he said something along the lines of, I mean, it's not the nicest thought in the world, but picture yourself like you're on your last legs kind of thing. You're towards the end of your life, and you're laying in a bed, and there's 8 people stood around you, and each of the people are the person that you could have become. So it's like one person is the person that you could have become if you had that confidence. One person is the person you could have become if you traveled the world and, met all different people. And then I think that's like such a great kind of scenario to imagine, because it's kind of putting in your brain, like, you're not going to be on earth forever. You're not going to have the longest time with family, friends, or like just the opportunities. Like I think that gets to a certain point where maybe where, you don't want to travel because maybe you feel the pressure to kind of settle down, buy a house, get married, that kind of thing. Or, there's going to be a point where you can't physically travel because you're too old and, whatever. So I think that's a really great one, just to kind of be like, you only live once, and think about all the potential you can have, and don't waste it, because at the end of the day, you've only got the time that you have on earth. So just follow it. If something excites you, if something is inspiring you, just try it, because you never know if you never do it, kind of thing.
There's something in there around following passions and following, I call it flow. So if you feel something from here, for those listening to this, I'm touching my kind of lower chest at the minute, and just follow it from there. Where else is that going? Oh, there's a coach that I follow he's from Australia, Kerwin Ray, and he'll quite often talk about how every day he reminds himself that this could be his last day. And
Hmm.
every day that he says goodbye to his son and sends him to school, that could be the last time that he sees him. And a lot of people would listen and look at that and go, oh my God, that is so dour. How do you live like that? And he's like, it's not dour, it's a reality. That is how we live our lives. We have
Yeah.
no idea that we are ever going to survive until the end of the day, because we never know when our time is up. And I usually find it, although I don't necessarily live like that, I do live with the belief that I don't know when it'll end. So therefore, I do want to keep going, and I do want to keep experiencing and living and doing everything that I possibly can.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a great way to live, and it kind of taps into what you were saying about Denzel there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at things. I mean, you don't have to look at it like that, but I think it's just important because I think what you're saying is that he is like really, really grateful. Like he's just like when he says his goodbye every day when his son goes to
Yeah,
school, he's kind of been like having the gratitude, like I love you, like you're having the gratitude for that person being in your life. And I think that if we kind of did go about our day and when we like socialize or seeing family or whatever, we did have that gratitude, we would just be in so much like we would love our lives so much more, which we should,
yeah.
because like you say, you never know like when your time's going to be up. You never know.
Look at what we do when somebody passes, and there's this outpouring of love and flowers and
Exactly.
dedication.
And it's too little too late then.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, let's do that whilst we're alive. Let's
Mhm.
let's do that. What was I talking about the other day? I do talk about some strange things. I think I was talking about having a life celebration before I died or something like that. And everybody looked at me as if to say, "Oh my God, you're mad!" And I was like, "Why? Why can't I celebrate my life whilst I'm still alive and have a massive party and say, I'm doing this not because I think I'm going to die, but because I don't know, because I've got 60 or 70, whatever age I choose to do it, and go, I want to do this now, and I want to celebrate, and I want to tell everybody how much I love them and how much I appreciate them, and do all that, because I don't want to leave it too late." Do you know what I mean? So I think that'd be a great idea. So I heard you mention earlier gratitude. Tell me what your beliefs are around gratitude.
Yeah, so I guess it kind of follows on about like everything that I've read in my self-help books and kind of believe about that. And there's actually one called The Magic that I'm doing at the minute. And I've done it a few times before. And it's like a kind of 28-day process that you kind of do a different task every day. And every task is related to gratitude.
Yeah,
So each day it'll last like one day is you've got to find like a rock and then you've got to hold it. And every night you hold it and you've got to think about the best thing that happened during the day and why you're grateful for that to happen. And like a bunch of other things, like you've got to write a list every day for 10 things that you're grateful for. And then one day you've got to find you know what, it's putting me right on the spot this, but it's like it just basically really tests like your level of gratitude, I suppose. And I kind of tried my best every day, even if I don't write it down. I try to always think of the things I'm grateful for,
yeah,
which like I kind of really do think it changes your mood,
yeah.
even if you think there is nothing to be grateful for. Like I could guarantee you or anyone that is listening that you could find at least 10 things to be grateful for. If you're
Yeah.
listening to this podcast, you're definitely, you're better off than other people. You've got access to electricity, you've got like a smartphone, you've got plenty to be grateful for, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Gratitude, when we are grateful for things, gratitude changes again our neurocircuitry. If you
Hmm.
imagine, excuse me, imagine two sides of the mind. One is very negative, one is very positive. I just remember learning this, and I was astounded. We could only have blood flow in one side at one time. So this is
Right.
the negative side, so this is where the blood flow is. But if we practice gratitude, what we do is we literally push the blood through to the more positive side of the mind.
Oh wow.
That is that is such a simple, basic way of looking at that, but that's literally how it works. The
Yeah.
blood flow can't be in both sides at the same time. So when people say, I work with a lot of people, and I work with a lot of people on gratitude, and I say, they're like, well, I've got nothing to be grateful for, and I'm like, have you got food in the cupboard? Yeah. Have you got money in the bank? A little bit, just a little bit of money in the bank. Yeah. Have you got a car to drive? Well, you drove here today, so you must have a car. And they're like, yeah, but I work hard. I deserve those things. And I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
deserve those things, because people in Africa work really, really hard, and they have nothing like what we have.
Hmm.
So for me, when I'm looking at gratitude, I'm looking at having a little bit of food, a bed to sleep in, a roof over my head, a little bit of money, a positive, good mindset, and stuff like that. So it's the little things that I'm looking for, not a Lamborghini or whatever else it is, and a
Yeah.
big house, because they're just possessions. It's little things.
Exactly. I think it's more about, what you've got around you right now. And I suppose, yeah, it is nice maybe to have these more materialistic things, but you're alive, and that's something to be grateful
Yeah.
for at the end of the day. And that's something so simple.
You ever followed a guy called Sadhguru?
No, I have not.
He's a mystic. He's an Asian guy. He's got a big silver beard and he wears a turban. He's brilliant. You should look him up. He has an app and he does stuff on TikTok and he's just brilliant. And I always remember an interview with him, and he was on stage and he had an audience in front of him, and somebody said, "Sadhguru, please give us something really profound that we should think every morning when we wake up." And he looked at him, and he's very still and very silent, and he's very quiet. And he just sat for a couple of minutes in silence, and he went, "How about you're grateful that you woke up?" And the audience laughed. The audience laughed, and he just sat there really still. And he went, "You laugh, but why? Why'd you laugh?
Yeah.
Who says, where is it written that we are entitled to wake up every day? Why?
Exactly.
Why'd you laugh?" And the audience kind of went really silent, really silent and really still. And I was like, that is true. When we wake up and we are still breathing and we get offered another day, for me, that is another gift. There's another gift because you get a chance to do it again, all over again. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, this audience laughed, and I was like, well done, Sadhguru. That's just brilliant. You should find him.
That's amazing.
You would absolutely love some of his stuff. It's very mystic, and he can be a little bit deep at times. But I think you'd like him.
I'm sure I would. I'll definitely look
I'll send you a link to him. So again, with gratitude, where do you think you learned your basics of gratitude?
Maybe, I don't know. I think I've kind of reflected on it a lot, like within the last few years, to be like, actually, I've just remembered now, one of the practices in the book that I'm reading requires you to go back in your memory and be thankful for like things that, have been paid for you, or gifts, or like things that you maybe weren't that grateful for, which I think is really powerful just to think about, just to go back to like where my mum and dad have like took us, or, what they've paid for us to go to or wherever, just to be like, you know what, maybe I wasn't as grateful as I should have been, and like thinking like that. But I think that it was kind of maybe like built on foundations of like parents, and then like reading, because I think I've read like a lot of self-help books. So I think that that's kind of like really like built up my knowledge a lot, I guess.
Yeah. It feels like all of those things have just kind of laid on top of the positive foundations you were given. Because if we don't have the ability to, would you know what I mean by not yet ready to receive the message? Would you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, you mean like so say if like I don't know, maybe I don't know, maybe I don't understand actually. I thought you meant, go on, sorry.
I'm sure you do. Let me explain it to you. Sometimes, so when I look at the work that I do and the content that I put out on social media, nearly all of it is repeated. It's repeated in different ways, in different forms, but there's a lot of same messages. There must be a stable of like 10 or 20 messages that just get repeated. And the truth is, who was I working with the other week? I was working with somebody, and then she went, "Oh my God, I've read this book and it said this." And I was like, "I said that to you 2 years ago. Literally, I said those words 2 years to you." And that was, and she was like, "Did you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And the truth is, we have to be ready to receive the message that is being given to us. And if we're not ready, it won't land. It just won't land with us.
Yeah, I definitely completely agree with that, because I think that when someone maybe isn't ready to change, like if someone is a very negative person all around maybe, and they're not willing to change, but when you could shove The Secret in their face or any self-help book and all you want, and they could be like, it's a load of BS still. And they've got to be, exactly like you said, they've got to be willing to want to like change and kind of like think like that. You can't just tell them about it and expect them to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm going to change. Like they've actually, I suppose, got to want to receive the message, as you said.
Yeah. If you're showing somebody The Secret and they're not they're saying it's BS. They're just not ready. They're just not ready
Exactly.
for it.
They've got to
And
want it.
as I've gotten older and older, I look at that now and I just shrug my shoulders and go, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
There's no ego involved anymore, and I just go, you're not ready yet. What do you mean I'm not ready? Are you saying that I'm wrong? No, I didn't say that.
You know what? I'm going to take that. I'm going to say that the next person that says it, because I've had like plenty of times, like friends or family or whatever, that just like laugh and like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, like I suppose before I think I would be offended to be like, but
Yeah.
you need to believe it. Well, I guess like exactly like you said, it's all about when they're ready and they've got to kind of want to do it to believe in it.
I have clients who they're working with me one-to-one and they're paying good money to do that. And I don't know, maybe I don't like this phrase, but I'll deliver a lesson to them or a bit of teaching and they go, I don't get it. Why am I not getting it? And I'm like, just maybe you're not ready. And they're like, but I want to be ready. I want to be ready and I want to learn it. And I'm like, you're just not. And it's not something we can rush, but you can almost see them getting frustrated. Or sometimes they repeat the same thing over and over again, like months over and over again. And I'm like, you're still repeating that. You're still repeating what you said 6 months ago. Am I? Yeah, just in different ways. You just keep changing the script a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So we just have to be ready to receive. But I think for you, it feels like you were given such good foundations that you were then ready to receive so much on top of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of been, yeah, I guess, yeah, like you said, I think it's been like a good start. But I think I've kind of not to like blow my own trumpet, but I think I kind of was quite mature from a young age. But
yeah,
I think it was maybe because when I was in theatre school, when I was like, I think must have only been like 11 when I started doing that, and I was with like socializing a lot with like a quite older people, like people who were already, well, they were like 16 plus, but I guess at that age, like it makes like a big difference. Like someone who is 11 to 16, like that's a big maturity gap. So I think that because I kind of was socializing with like a bit more mature people, I came like a lot more mature, and then I suppose that was that.
Just good foundations. Just before we close, is there one thing that you would want the listener to take away from this recording with you? What would be your takeaway that you would really want people to take?
I would want people, you've just got to be, I suppose, like the best version of yourself. But then again, like you said, you've got to want it. Like you've got to want to be that best version of yourself. And I always like this quote, and it's from Bob Proctor, who's like a good person to follow. And he says, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And I think that's always like a great quote to kind of have in your mind, because people might think like, even like, whatever you want to do as a career or whatever, that when you see someone, you might think, oh, I could never do that. But the truth is, you could do that. You could be the next, like that. You could be like that person in the future. So I think that quote is always like, it always sticks in my mind, because it's just a great thing to think about that. If you can see it, if you can imagine it, then you can have it like in your grasp, in the future. So I'd probably say that was my like number one thing.
What a beautiful quote. I absolutely love that. And yeah, I completely agree with it as well. If you can see it, you can hold it.
Exactly that.
Love it. Harry, thank you so much for your time.
It's been great. I've honestly like thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been amazing.
Thank you. I've just got some thank yous to do to the listener and the radio station. So thank you to everybody that has listened to another one of these podcasts, Invincible You. Thank you to Home Radio for producing the podcast. Thank you for promoting the podcasts. Don't forget, you can get Home Radio on. They have an iOS and an Android app, and you can get them on Alexa, and you can find them at homeradio.co.uk. Go across and listen to them. They have some great playlists on there. So I love listening to Home Radio. If we're not covering subjects you want us to cover, then please get in touch. Give us a shout. Leave us a review on podcast. No, leave us a podcast review on Apple, and that would also be wonderful. Remember what I say always: be kind to yourself and be kind to everybody around you. Thanks again, Harry.
Thank you so much.
Bye.